Hi, Tim Dorman here, and welcome to my Philadelphia backyard, which I lovingly refer to as my jungle. I invite you to come along and take a look at all of the new plants that I got this year and some returning favorites. Alright, so let's get started. I'm really excited. I've got a lot of new plants this year. It's finally consistently warm enough that I was able to put all the plants in the ground. So let's do a little tour and I will show you all the new plants that I got this year. There are some returning favorites, but I do have a lot of new ones, so we will see what happens this year. We'll start over here in the corner. Let me just show you this rose bush, and right below the rose bush is where we'll get started. There's some pots over here to the left, and we'll get back to those at the very end. So the new plant in this area below the rose bush for me would be right here. These are balloon flower plants. So let me just come down here so you can really see how beautiful those are. These are perennial, so with any luck they will come back next year. Now, as I'm going around here, I am going to skip over some plants if they're not blooming, or if I just haven't talked about them in the previous video. So moving right next door here, so these are not blooming, but these are the dahlias that I planted up in the last video. These are new for me this year in the garden. So we've got one here, here, and then also right here. There are two varieties in here, and once they bloom I'll be able to identify which is which for you. I also want to point out, as we're walking around here, I'm going to be using this stick to point to the plants because I have this bad habit of basically falling into my garden, so I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. Alright, moving over. This is also a new addition. I decided to get two pots for this section, so I've got two square brown pots. And the reason for this is basically this whole area has just been a sea of green hostas, and although I enjoy them, I did want to add a little more interest, and I thought I would do that by nestling in some planters right into the hostas. So let's zoom in here and let's talk about which plants I decided to put into these new planters. So starting here in the back, this purple one with the beautiful leaves is a purple shield or strobilanthus. Right next to it is a fuchsia gardenmeister. Right in front of that we have a purple heart or a tradescantia. Nestled in right here, it's a little hard to see, but there is a bright salmon impatient, not blooming yet. Right next to that, I'm just going to move this leaf, we have a Silver Falls plant. And then nestled right here in the center is a colocasia teacup, which is part of the elephant ear family. So hopefully that's going to get nice and tall for me. Alright, moving on to the next planter. So I do want to mention just briefly as a good design tip when you're planning your planters. It's good to have your tallest or fullest plants in the back with some shorter cascading plants in the front, and maybe have a large plant of interest, which I refer to as the showstopper, which is this really tall one right here. So let me just point out what we have in this planter. There are some repeats. I find some plants that I like, and I just kind of repeat them throughout the garden. It can get very busy looking if you have too many plants. So I do like to repeat some plants throughout the garden. So in the back we have the Persian shield. This is another hot salmon impatient. This is another repeat. This is the Silver Falls. This is another Tradescantia. This is Tradescantia Nanook. And then in the back there is a Rex begonia. The Rex begonia is new for me this year. I think it is absolutely beautiful. I really love the color of the leaves. That one in particular is called Jurassic Green Streak. Alright, and then the showstopper, which is the tall one, that is another Colocasia, specifically the Mojito variety. And the leaves on this are absolutely amazing. While I am close and already at risk of falling into the plants, let me just zoom down in here on that begonia in the back, because it is also very beautiful. That begonia does not flower, neither does the Persian shield to the right of it. I grow these plants mostly for the foliage. My garden aesthetic is like what I like to refer to as like the jungle look. And I achieve that, I believe, with using a lot of brightly colored, unique foliage, rather than a lot of bright, flashy, blooming plants. Alright, let's move on. Alright, to the right of these pots we have a lot of hostas. Now, I'm going to do a separate video just on the hostas, because after really looking around and kind of seeing what I have here, I didn't realize I have about 10 different varieties, so I think that they deserve their own video. But while I am over here, I just want to point out that I do have some houseplants scattered around. Right here in the back, this is an Asparagus Fern. It's looking a little rough. It still has some of the pink flowers that fell off of this tree. So I do need to still go back there and kind of shake those out a little bit. Right next door is a spike plant. There's a fern right down here. And then also buried down here there is a spider plant. Alright. Let's just spin around over here real quick. Get a nice look at some more of these hostas. There are more houseplants back there. There's a croton on the left, an angel wing begonia on the right, and another repeat of that same fern, which I am not 100% sure exactly what the name of that one is. I'll have to do some more research to find out the name on that one. Alright, moving down, this right here is another Asparagus Fern. This particular variety is a foxtail fern. I've been looking for this guy for a few years now, so I'm excited to have finally found it this year. Not that it's necessarily extremely difficult to find. You can find them online, but I have not really had the best luck when buying plants over the internet. They're usually not too happy about the, being shipped in a box, and who knows what happens to them from the time they leave until they get to my place. They get a little roughed up, so they're usually very unhappy by the time they arrive. Speaking of that, in this pot right here, there's not a whole lot happening right now. There is like a little stick here, which I'm kind of catching. That is another Colocasia teacup, and I did buy that one online. The other one in the brown pot. They both came at the same time. Again, mail catalog. not really happy with the way they look, so hopefully it survives, but not really feeling too confident about ordering from catalogs anymore. In with the colocasia is this polka dot plant. I absolutely love this plant. I love the chocolate brown leaves, and let me just knock that off there, and the beautiful red. I just think it adds a really nice contrast. Here is this impatient with the hot pink salmon. Again, impatiens are great. They pretty much bloom all summer long. They're really easy to grow, and this is a plant that I frequently repeat just to kind of add a little grounding to the garden. So it's just not a sprinkling of all these random plants. I do kind of try to ground the garden in repeating a few plants here and there, and this is one of those plants that I choose to repeat. Alright, let's move around. I just want to point out that there's a lamb's ear down here, and we're going to take a closer look at the lamb's ear that I have on the other side of the garden, but we're going to just briefly talk about this plant right here. I think in my last video I mentioned I am in Philadelphia and there are a lot of noises in the background, so again, apologize for that, but it's just non-stop with all of the sounds. So this plant here is one of my favorites. It is a columbine plant. I have it in this purple color down here, and then also this yellow. I just love the shape of these flowers. So this is from the side, and you can see how it has these nice almost horns that jut out the back, and then you have this beautiful classic kind of flower look in the front here. They're just so interesting from all different angles. Let me just step back here a little bit more. So this plant is really easy to grow. It does reseed heavily, so you just would want to keep that in mind. It is a perennial, but once the flowers have finished blooming, I actually go around and collect the seed pods so that they don't reseed. Otherwise, the whole garden would just be covered in this columbine plant. So that can be good if you have a lot of space and you just want to fill it up with flowers. This is definitely a good low maintenance plant that reseeds very easily. Alright, moving on here. Just down in this area, just point out that this is a yucca plant. With any luck, it will bloom some white flowers. There's another hosta down here. And I also have a lot of creeping jenny in this garden. So there's some down here, and there's a whole bunch in the path, and also sprinkled throughout the garden. I don't even know if it is considered a perennial, but honestly, it comes back every year for me. And I originally bought like a 4-inch pot, and now it's literally everywhere. So it can be a little invasive, but I enjoy it, and it's really easy to pull out. Alright, moving down here. This is a clematis. This is a new plant for me this year. I'm gonna zoom in. I think it is absolutely beautiful. So this is a vining plant. With any luck, it's gonna grow up this trellis, and I should have blooms most of the summer. Alright, spinning around here. I do have a lot of bulbs in this section. They bloom at all different times. So right now, the tiger iris are what's in bloom. Alright, I'll just come down here, try to get a really good shot of how beautiful these leaves are. The yellow is almost, looks like it's lit. It's so bright and so vibrant. And I think it's just because of the contrast of the dark purple. But I absolutely love these. But they will be done blooming soon. So because the bulbs are temporary, I did already start to plant some annuals that will bloom all summer around the base of these bulbs. So what we have down here, I'm trying not to drop my phone. We have some salvia. So we have this dark purple, and then we have this red. So they are nestled amongst all of these bulbs. And let's see if I can get back here a little bit further. As another flowering annual, I have some snapdragons back here. So this is the full sun area, and I did plant a lot of short annuals in this area. Alright, moving on to this flower pot right here. We have, this is a licorice plant. I have a repeating theme of color palette. I love plants that are silver, oranges, reds, purples, and lime greens. So you may have noticed that there's kind of a pattern here with the colors. I'm not a big fan of yellow, but the yellow plants have snuck into my garden. I'm not sure how that happened. We've got some more creeping Jenny, impatiens. Behind this spike we have another Persian shield, and then we also have this begonia right here, which I love. This is the second lamb's ear. Again, has that nice silvery color that I'm looking for. And right behind that we have another rose bush, and also this one's not blooming, but there's another rose bush here, and some impatiens, and some more creeping Jenny. So this whole area is going to look completely different in probably about another month. I do have some brown-eyed Susans in there. I did plant some echinacea plants, some elephant ears, some caladium. So these are all things that aren't blooming yet, or just they really haven't even popped up yet, but they're there. So that's one nice thing about gardening. It's so transformative. Like every month it looks a little bit different. Alright, so we're going to finish up here on the pots. Just going to go through this pretty quickly. Sorry, I've been talking a long time. So on this trellis we have a passion flower. This is the second year for the passion flower. It did not bloom last year, so as a backup plan, just in case something goes wrong again. In my last video I had planted some seeds inside, and one of which was this guy right here. I was a little concerned that it was too tall and leggy, but it's actually looking pretty good. That is the cardinal climber. So even if the passion flower doesn't bloom, I'm going to have that vine also growing in here, and it gets bright red flowers. I also have a lime green sweet potato vine right here, just to add a little more interest of color and texture. Some more Tradescantia in the back. This is another plant I'm growing from seed. This is a nasturtium. Right over here, this is a lantana. This one I have wintered over inside for 3 years now. So we'll take a look at that again once it starts blooming. I have one herb. This here's lemon balm. And moving down here, this is a canna. This is a Tropicana Gold. Gets an orange flower. I do have them in 2 other areas of the garden, so with any luck, those will sprout and come up. I started this one. This is one of the plants that I started early inside, so that's why this one's so far along compared to the others. I also have down here another sweet potato vine. This is the purple or black variety. And I have a double orange. Let me come down here. I am forgetting the name. I want to call it Million Bells. It's like a type of petunia, but that's the double orange variety. Alright, I think that pretty much wraps up the first tour of the backyard. I hope you enjoyed it, and there will be more to come. Thank you.